though. I do have a question that's just burning my ass. I've been out to, yeah, it's just like I've had people out there talk about Biden's connection to some of this stuff. Are there any ties to in the book that kind of lead in a rabbit hole towards the president who got 81 million votes? I mean, it surely seems like just from his normal actions that he would be one of those guys to ride on the Lolita Express. But
yeah, so there's no evidence of a Biden Epstein relationship from what I have seen. But that doesn't mean that Biden isn't like, I mean, so Epstein isn't the only part of like the swamp or whatever you want to call it. And there's been scandals with sex crimes in Congress and sexual blackmail in Congress, like going back decades. There's the largely forgotten Page Boy scandal of the early 1980s. For example, which revolved around several congressmen, including Larry Craig, who was on the House Ethics Committee. And then in 2007, Larry Craig finally got nailed for trying to illegally solicit sex in an airport bathroom. But at the time in the 80s, they were like, impossible that he'd do something. And then it came out, right, that Dennis Hastert was a pedophile and sexual abuser. He was Speaker of the House for how long? You don't have to have an Epstein relationship to be a pervert and a sex criminal. But I mean, Biden's been there since like the 70s, and has overseen a lot of horrific legislation from the worst people that influence policy in the United States. The crime bill, his lesser known domestic terror bill of the mid 1990s that was going to give the president executive authority to decide who is a terrorist in America without any sort of recourse. The president can just say, I've decided you're a terrorist today. And now you're going to get drone bombed, whether you're in the U.S. or somewhere. That's basically how that law had been written. This was after OKC in 95. Biden was the one capitalizing on that. And when, under him too, you see like the infrastructure for a war on domestic terror expand considerably. And all these efforts, I think, being made to sort of try and trigger Trump's base as much as possible so they actually do get violent to justify using that against Americans. I think we're going to see more of that. I think the FBI raid might be related to that to some extent. But there's a lot of other things that they're just trying to push, that particular political base with as much as possible at this point, I think. While giving their supposed base, Biden's supposed base, literally nothing, the left, quote unquote, in the US. So
the American left, we like to call them.
There's a lot of words for them.
Right.
We say there's no left in America, but there's an American left.
Dupe, sucker, patsy, mule.
Chump.
I mean, all kinds of things you could. Yeah, it's sad, dude. Yeah. It's so sad. There's it feels, I don't know, maybe not. It feels the wrong word, but given where Hunter Biden travels, where Hunter Biden has lived, he seems more like he would be caught up in the NXIVM kind of, he would run with those people much, much more so than trying to be
more of his flavor
involved. Well, he's a crackhead who hangs out with low rent whores. He doesn't have the headspace for the Epstein transhumanist weirdos.
Gotcha.
He doesn't, dude.
That's a valid point there, my man.